All right, so you're getting ready for this Fisheries Boatman interview. That's awesome. We've got your notes here, and we've got some great resources from RoleCatcher
Mm-hmm.
that are going to help us get you ready to answer pretty much anything they could ask.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about, showing them that you're not just qualified on paper,
Yeah,
but that you're really the right person for this job, someone with the right mix of skills and experience, but also the kind of passion that'll let you really thrive out there on the water.
I love that. Really getting at that fit. So to help us get a better feel for how to do that, we've got some common interview questions that RoleCatcher pulled together from their interview guides, and we're going to use those, along with tips from their career guide to help you come up with some awesome answers. So first up, almost every fisheries boatman interview is going to start with this. What inspired you to pursue this career?
Yeah, that's a classic. And this is where they're really trying to figure out your why. It's not about just rattling off a list of skills. It's about showing them what it is that really gets you excited about this kind of work.
Totally. So what was it for you? What first got you hooked on this? Was it a childhood dream, family history in fishing, maybe a fascination with marine life, or just a deep respect for the ocean?
Those are all great places to start, and I think it's really powerful to share a quick personal story here, even just a short anecdote. To show that your enthusiasm is genuine, it helps the interviewer connect with you on a more personal level.
Absolutely. That personal touch can make a huge difference. And you know what? This is actually a great spot to mention RoleCatcher's AI, because you can actually type in your story,
Hmm.
and the AI will analyze it and suggest improvements to make sure it's going to really land with this specific company and the job you're going for.
Oh, that's neat. It's kind of like having a coach in your corner helping you polish your story.
Exactly. Okay. So moving on. The next question is probably going to be about your experience. Something like, what experience do you have working with fishing equipment and boats?
Right. And this is where you want to avoid just giving them a laundry list of tasks you've done. Instead, bring those experiences to life. Tell them about a time you had to deal with a really tricky situation on a boat, how you tackled it, and what you learned from it.
Yes. Give them a story they'll remember.
Exactly. And if you've ever fixed a tough engine problem or navigated through rough seas, those stories will really showcase your skills and how resourceful you can be.
Totally. And don't forget the details. Don't just say you're familiar with a certain type of net. Describe its unique features, how it's used, and any challenges you face while handling it.
It's those details that bring your experience to life. And speaking of details, the career guide emphasizes the importance of certifications. Certifications like basic safety training or small vessel operations, those can give you a real edge because they immediately signal your commitment to safety and professionalism.
That's so true. And if you're not sure which certifications are the most important for you, RoleCatcher's Career Guide actually breaks it down by career stage. So from trainee to chief fisheries boatman, you can see where you stand and what you might need to move up.
Okay, so let's tackle a question that can be a bit tricky. How do you ensure compliance with all relevant fishing regulations and guidelines?
Yes, the regulations question. They're really trying to gauge how responsible you are and how well you understand the importance of sustainability. So this is where you show them that you don't just follow the rules blindly, but that you actively stay up to date. Do you subscribe to any industry publications? Attend workshops?
That's a great point. And the career guide actually mentions several industry publications that fisheries boatmen often follow to stay in the know. Do any of those ring a bell for you?
Yeah, mentioning specific ones shows that you're proactive. And it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about being able to explain how you put them into practice. Like, how do you make sure you're sticking to catch limits or using sustainable fishing practices? Right. Think about those real-world examples that prove you get it and that you care. Okay, now let's get ready for a curveball. They might ask you something like, describe a time you had to troubleshoot an issue with fishing equipment or a boat while out on the water.
Ooh, good one. This is where you really get to showcase your problem-solving skills.
Yeah.
So think back to a specific incident. Maybe a net got tangled, an engine started acting up, or the weather changed suddenly and you had to adapt.
Right. It's all about how you handle those unexpected situations. They want to hear not just about the problem itself, but how you figured it out.
Exactly. Walk them through your process. How did you identify the problem? What steps did you take? Did you have to get creative because you were working with limited resources?
And I love this part because this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be a huge help. It can actually analyze your answer
Hmm.
and suggest ways to make it even stronger by highlighting the key skills you used, like problem-solving decision-making or leadership.
Wow, that's really cool.
I know, right? It's like having an expert editor helping you polish your responses and making sure they really hit the mark. Okay, so now let's talk career goals. The career guide lays out the different stages of a fisheries boatman's career. Where do you see yourself fitting in right now? Are you a trainee, junior boatman?
Yeah, it's important to have a sense of where you are and where you want to go. And when you bring this back to the interview, understanding those stages helps you explain your ambitions. Are you aiming to become a senior boatman someday? Maybe even a chief boatman? Being able to talk about your career trajectory shows ambition and a desire to grow within the industry.
Absolutely. And it gives you a chance to ask some insightful questions of your own. You could ask about advancement opportunities within the company or how they support their employees' professional development.
Exactly. Showing that you're thinking long term makes a really positive impression. It suggests you're not just looking for a job, but a real career path.
Totally. Okay, now let's not forget about those transferable skills. RoleCatcher actually has guides on communication, teamwork, problem solving,
Yeah.
all sorts of skills that are valuable in any job, but especially on a fishing boat where collaboration is so important. So what do you think are your strongest assets? Is it your ability to stay calm under pressure, your mechanical skills, or maybe your leadership qualities?
Those are all great examples. And I think the key is to be able to identify your strengths and then explain them clearly and confidently. Because remember, you have a lot to offer. It's all about presenting yourself in a way that highlights your unique value and shows them why you're the perfect catch for this role.
I love that. The perfect catch. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but we've still got plenty more interview questions to tackle. So make sure you stick around for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore even more tips and strategies to help you ace that fisheries boatman interview.
I'm ready for part 2. Let's do it. And another great way to show them your value is to be ready for this question. Why are you interested in working for our company specifically?
Oh, this is a good one, because they want to know you chose them. It's not enough to just want any job as a fisheries boatman. You need to show them why this company, this team, is the right fit for you.
Right. It's all about showing them you've done your homework. Have you looked into their website, their fishing practices? What's their company culture like?
Yeah, have you gotten a sense of who they are? Do they have a reputation for sustainability? Do they prioritize crew safety? Are they known for investing in new technology?
All of those things. And RoleCatcher's platform has this awesome database of employer profiles. It's a goldmine for this kind of research. You can get insights into the company's background, their values, even what their employees are saying about them.
So cool. So let's say you find out that this company is really big on ethical sourcing and minimizing their environmental impact. If that aligns with your values, that's a golden opportunity to highlight that connection.
Exactly. You could say something like, I'm really drawn to your company's commitment to sustainable fishing practices. It aligns perfectly with my own belief that we need to protect our oceans for future generations.
Perfect. Shows them you're not just there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
You actually care about what they're doing.
Exactly. And remember, the interview is a two-way street. This is your chance to figure out if they're a good fit for you. So don't be afraid to ask questions about their culture, team dynamics, opportunities for growth and learning.
Right. You could ask something like, can you tell me a bit more about the team I'd be working with? What's the day-to-day life like for a fisheries boatman on one of your vessels?
Exactly. Those questions show you're genuinely interested and thinking long-term.
All right, so now for a question that can be a little intimidating. What are your salary expectations?
Yeah, this one can feel tricky. You don't want to aim too low, but you also don't want to price yourself out of the running.
For sure.
Luckily, RoleCatcher has a salary insights tool that can give you a good idea of typical salaries for fisheries boatmen in your area. Oh.
That's so helpful. It's all about knowing your worth.
Exactly. And don't forget to think about other benefits that are important to you, like health insurance, retirement plans, paid time off.
Yes, all part of the package. All right, so let's talk about your vision for the future. Get ready for this question. What are your long-term career goals?
Okay, so this is where you get to showcase your ambition, your commitment to growth. Do you dream of becoming a senior boatman, leading your own crew? Maybe you're really passionate about a specific type of fishing and want to specialize in that.
Oh, those are good ones.
It's also a great opportunity to mention any additional certifications or training you're interested in pursuing. This shows them you're already thinking about the next chapter in your career.
Right, like if you're interested in all the new technology in fishing, you could say something like, I'm fascinated by the potential of new sonar technologies, and I'm planning to get certified in advanced electronic navigation systems.
Perfect. Shows initiative and
Hmm.
that you're staying ahead of the curve.
Okay, so no interview prep is complete without talking about this question. Tell me about a time you made a mistake. What did you learn from it?
Mm. Nobody likes talking about their mistakes.
I know.
But here's the thing. Everyone makes them. It's about what you do afterwards. What they're really looking for here is self-awareness. Do you take responsibility? Are you committed to learning from your experiences?
So important. So think about a time you messed up. Maybe you misjudged the weather, or a piece of equipment malfunctioned because of something you did or didn't do.
Oh, right. Pick a situation where you learned a valuable lesson and can show how you used that lesson to improve.
Exactly. Focus on the takeaway, not the mistake itself. You can say something like, once I underestimated the strength of a current, and it put the boat in a tricky situation. From that experience, I learned to always check the tide charts and to be extra careful in unfamiliar waters.
That's a great example. It shows that you're not afraid to own your mistakes and that you're always striving to improve.
Exactly. And that's a quality every good captain needs. Okay, so now let's talk about teamwork. Because on a fishing vessel, teamwork is everything. So be ready for a question like, tell me about a time you had to work as part of a team to achieve a goal. What was your role and how did you contribute to the team's success?
Yeah, think about those tough catches, those times when you all had to pull together to repair a net or navigate through a storm. Those are the kinds of stories that'll show them how well you can communicate, collaborate, and get things done as a team.
Right. And don't be shy about sharing your contributions. Did you take initiative? Did you come up with a creative solution? Did you help keep morale high when things got tough?
Exactly. Highlight those moments that show your strengths as a team player. And this is another spot where RoleCatcher's AI can be really useful. It can actually analyze your answer and pick out the key teamwork skills you've demonstrated, which can be helpful in tailoring your response to the job description. So smart. It's like having a personal editor for your interview answers. Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about leadership. If you're applying for a role that involves some level of leadership, you might get asked, how would you describe your leadership style?
Okay, so think about the qualities that make a good leader. Are you decisive? A clear communicator? Are you supportive and encouraging?
Yeah. Do you lead by example? Or are you more collaborative?
It's all about finding a leadership style that fits your personality and experience.
Totally. You could say something like, I believe in a collaborative leadership style where everyone's input is valued. I'm also a big believer in leading by example and setting high standards for myself and the team.
That's a great way to frame it. It shows you've thought about leadership and you have a clear vision for how you approach it.
Okay, so get ready for this one. It's a question that really tests your problem-solving skills. Describe a time when you faced a challenging situation at work. How did you approach the problem? And what was the outcome? All right, so think back to those moments that pushed you to your limits. Did you ever have a mechanical failure at sea? A sudden change in weather that forced you to think on your feet? A conflict with a crewmate that needed to be resolved?
Yeah, those high-pressure situations.
They want to see how you handle pressure, how you analyze a situation, and how you find solutions when things get tough.
It's all about showing them you can think clearly when things get chaotic.
Right. And remember, it's not just about the problem itself, it's about how you tackled it. Walk them through your process. What information did you gather? What options did you consider? How did you weigh the risks and benefits?
And don't forget to talk about the outcome.
Mhm.
What did you learn? How did it change your approach to problem solving?
All great points. Now let's talk about staying up to date in the fishing industry, because things are always changing. So you might get asked something like, what steps do you take to stay current on the latest advancements in the fishing or aquaculture industry?
Yeah, this is where you get to show them you're committed to learning and growing, that you're not just content with the status quo.
Exactly. So do you read industry publications, attend conferences, participate in online forums, take any online courses?
And be specific. Tell them the names of publications you read, organizations you belong to, websites you follow.
Sharing those details shows them you're serious about professional development, and it gives you a chance to highlight any areas you're particularly interested in.
Okay, so let's dive into a question that's becoming more and more important in the fishing industry. How do you approach your work with a focus on sustainability and environmental responsibility?
This is a big one. This is your chance to show them you're not just a skilled fisherman, but you also care about the health of the ocean and the future of the industry.
For sure. So do you follow catch limits? Do you use selective fishing gear to minimize bycatch? Are you taking steps to reduce waste and pollution?
It's all about being conscious of your impact and taking steps to minimize it.
Exactly. You could say something like, I believe we all have a responsibility to protect the ocean. I always make sure to use the right gear to minimize bycatch, and I'm really careful about following catch limits to ensure the long-term health of fish populations.
I like that. It shows you get the bigger picture and you're committed to doing your part.
Right. Sustainability is a hot topic these days, so being able to talk about it intelligently and show your commitment to it can really make you stand out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about communication. It's essential on any vessel. So be prepared for a question like, describe a time when you had to communicate a complex idea or instructions to someone. How did you ensure they understood?
Yeah, think about a time you had to explain a complicated fishing technique or navigate through some rough waters. Or maybe you had to resolve a conflict with a crewmate. How did you get your point across?
Right, did you use clear and concise language? Did you check for understanding? Did you have to adjust your communication style based on who you were talking to?
Communicating effectively is crucial, especially in those high-pressure moments.
Exactly.
So choose an example that shows you can convey information accurately and make sure everyone's on the same page.
Because clear communication equals safety and success on a fishing boat. So it's definitely something interviewers are going to be paying attention to. Okay, now let's talk about adaptability. Because the ocean is unpredictable, and so is the fishing industry. Be prepared to answer a question like this. Describe a time when you had to adjust your plans or approach due to unforeseen circumstances. How did you handle the situation?
All right, so think about those times when the unexpected happened. Maybe the weather changed suddenly, you had equipment malfunctions.
Or the fish just weren't biting.
They want to see that you can think on your feet, stay calm, and adjust your approach without compromising safety or efficiency.
Right, so what steps did you take to assess the situation?
How did you make decisions under pressure?
Did you have to get creative to find solutions?
Pick an example that shows you're resourceful, and you can roll with the punches.
Which, let's face it, is a big part of life on a fishing boat.
Exactly. And you know what? Speaking of handling the unexpected, we have to mention RoleCatcher's AI again. Because one of the coolest features they have is this AI-powered video practice tool.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
You can actually record yourself answering these interview questions and get instant feedback.
It's like having a virtual coach right there in your pocket.
Exactly. It analyzes your delivery, your body language, even the content of your answers, and gives you suggestions for improvement.
So smart. It's like having a secret weapon for your interview prep.
Hmm.
Okay, so now let's talk about safety. Because it's absolutely crucial for any fisheries boatman. So be prepared to answer a question like, how do you prioritize safety in your work, both for yourself and for others?
This is where you really show them that safety is your top priority, that you're committed to creating a safe working environment for everyone on board.
So think about those safety protocols you live by. Do you always wear your life jacket? Inspect your equipment regularly. Communicate clearly with your crewmates.
Pick examples that show you understand the regulations and that you're proactive about preventing accidents.
You could say something like, safety is non-negotiable for me. I never step foot on a boat without my life jacket. And I always double-check my equipment before we head out. I also believe in open communication and encourage everyone on board to speak up if they see something that seems unsafe.
That's a great way to put it. It shows you're not just following the rules, you really get why they're important, and you're committed to building a culture of safety.
Exactly. And that's something every captain and crew member will appreciate. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here in part 2. From salary expectations and career goals to teamwork, leadership, problem solving, and safety. But we still got more to talk about, so make sure you join us for part 3. We'll wrap up our deep dive into Fisheries Boatman interviews.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so now let's get into some questions that really dig into your expertise. You might get asked something like, what experience do you have with specific type of gear or technology?
Ah, yes. This is where you get to show off your specialized knowledge. So think about the different types of fishing nets you've worked with. Traps lines, electronic navigation systems.
Like the tools of the trade.
Exactly. And don't just say you've used them. Describe the details of each piece of equipment, the techniques involved, any challenges you've faced while using them.
I like it. Get specific.
Right, like if they ask about your experience with long-line fishing gear, you could say something like, I've been working with long lines for several years, and I'm really comfortable setting, hauling, and maintaining the gear. I've also taken courses on sustainable longlining techniques, and I'm up to date on the latest bycatch reduction methods.
Nice. That kind of detailed answer shows you really know your stuff and that you're committed to doing things the right way.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's talk about a question that's especially relevant if you're going for a job that involves working with live fish, like in aquaculture. Something like, how do you prioritize the humane treatment of fish in your work?
This is a good one. It's all about showing them that you care about animal welfare and that you understand how to handle fish responsibly.
So what are some of the things you do to minimize stress and injury to the fish during caption handling transport?
Lots of things. Using the right netting techniques, handling them gently, making sure the water quality and temperature are good.
It's all about those little details that make a big difference.
Right. It shows you're aware of the importance of ethical treatment, and you're doing what you can to minimize any harm.
Exactly. You can say something like, I believe in treating all living creatures with respect. I always use the most humane methods when I'm handling fish, and I'm really careful about maintaining the right water conditions to make sure they're healthy and comfortable.
Perfect. That shows compassion, and it demonstrates that you understand the importance of responsible practices.
All right, so now let's get into a question that's designed to see how you handle those tricky interpersonal situations. Be ready for something like, describe a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a coworker or crewmate. How did you approach the situation?
Yeah, conflict happens everywhere, especially in a close-knit environment like a fishing vessel. So they want to know you can handle disagreements professionally.
So think back to a time when you had to deal with a difficult situation, maybe a personality clash, a disagreement over fishing strategy, or even just a miscommunication that caused some tension.
Right. And focus on how you de-escalated the situation. Did you listen to the other person's point of view? Did you work towards a solution that benefited everyone?
Exactly. You could say, we had a disagreement about the best way to tackle a particular fishing challenge. So we sat down and talked it through. We each explained our perspective, and we ended up coming up with a compromise that incorporated both of our ideas.
That's a great example. It shows that you can communicate effectively, find common ground, and maintain positive working relationships.
Even when things get a little heated. All right, so now let's talk about going above and beyond. Be prepared for a question like, describe a time when you went above and beyond to make sure a task was done to the highest standard. What motivated you to do that?
Okay, so this is where you get to show off your dedication, your attention to detail, that willingness to go the extra mile.
Exactly. So think about a time when you really put in that extra effort. Maybe you took extra care to make sure a catch was properly handled. Or you went above and beyond to fix a piece of equipment. Or maybe you spent extra time training a new crew member.
It's all about showing them that you take pride in your work and that you're committed to excellence.
Totally. You could say, I always take extra care when I'm preparing the catch for market. I want to make sure every fish is properly graded, cleaned, and iced to preserve its freshness and quality. It's about representing our company and our product with the highest possible standards.
That's a great answer. It shows that you're not just going through the motions, you really care about the quality of your work.
Okay, so now let's get real for a minute. Nobody's perfect. And sometimes we need constructive criticism to help us grow. So be prepared to answer a question like, tell me about a time you received constructive criticism. How did you respond? And what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, this one can be tough, but it's important. They want to know you're open to feedback and that you can use it to improve.
So think about a time when someone gave you some feedback that helped you get better. Maybe a supervisor, a crewmate, a mentor. What was the feedback, and how did you use it to grow?
Right. Focus on how you received the feedback, how you learned from it, and what positive changes you made as a result.
Exactly. You could say, I once got some feedback that my knots weren't as secure as they could be. I really appreciated the feedback, and I immediately started practicing different knot tying techniques. I even asked a more experienced crew member to give me some pointers.
That's a great example. It shows humility, a desire to learn, and a commitment to improvement.
All super valuable qualities in any job. Okay, so last but not least, be ready to talk about what really lights your fire. I might ask you, what do you enjoy most about working on or around the water?
This is the fun part. Let your passion shine through. What is it about this work that you love? Is it the adventure, the challenge, the camaraderie, the satisfaction of a good catch?
Yes. Show them you're not just looking for any job. This is something you're truly passionate about.
You could say something like, I've always felt a connection to the ocean. I love being out on the water, facing the elements, working alongside a dedicated crew. It's incredibly rewarding.
Awesome. That really captures the spirit of it.
So remember, the interview process is a two-way street. It's a chance for you to showcase your skills and experience, but it's also an opportunity for you to learn more about the company and the specific role. Be prepared to ask thoughtful questions, have a genuine conversation, and let your passion for the maritime industry shine through.
I love that. Let your passion shine through. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of Fisheries Boatmen interviews. We've covered a ton of ground. From those classic opening questions, to those curveballs that really test your problem-solving skills. We've talked about experience, teamwork, leadership, safety, and so much more.
And we've sprinkled in some tips and insights from RoleCatcher along the way.
Exactly. Their resources are a goldmine for anyone prepping for a Fisheries Boatman interview, and their AI tools are seriously game-changing.
Absolutely.
So to everyone out there getting ready for a Fisheries Boatman interview, we wish you the best of luck. Remember, be prepared, be confident, and let your passion shine through.
And who knows, maybe we'll see you out on the open ocean someday.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.